Joe, go ahead with your questions.
Coach, big game coming up. You guys mirror each other a lot statistically in terms of players and quarterbacks and things. What impresses you most about the Chiefs as a team?
They're good in all three phases. And, they're on quite the streak right now. They're playing at a high level. They do a great job on offense, scoring points and lightly protecting the ball. On defense, they do an excellent job of limiting the opponent's points and taking the ball away. So pretty good recipe for success that they have.
Thank you.
Zac, with the changes in protocols, do you expect that to make a difference in whether you get DJ Reader back or Jermaine Pratt back for Sunday?
Well, Jermaine tested positive today. So that one's it's really just, kind of like we said the other day, crapshoot at that point. The other guys are more encouraging.
Zach, does this change any of your opinions on maybe what you could be able to do with Logan Wilson to create a role, considering he's one of the few guys that has experience?
It really one hasn't to do with the other. But Logan, I'm a little more optimistic today than I was on Monday. It has nothing to do with Jermaine testing positive, just the way Logan's feeling. And so he's going to get out there today and start moving around a little bit. That's kind of the last step we needed to see from him and see how he feels physically as he moves around. And so I don't have any predictions on what Sunday will look like for him yet, but that's an encouraging big step to get him out there for practice today.
Zac, is there a particular reason that shifted between Wednesday and Monday? What changed?
Just how he's felt, the strength he has in his shoulder, and so we played it, a little bit conservatively on my end, not trying to push him to play this week, but on his end, just what he's done in the weight room, what he's done with Nick Cosgray, he started to feel better and better really over the last 48 hours. And so, we're going to get him out there today and let him take that step and then see how he feels throughout the week and then make some decisions later on.
Zac, if you did have him, even if it was on a limited basis, what would that mean for your defense, knowing the opponent?
Yeah, he's really good on all three downs and has done a really good job playing in the middle of that defense, creating turnovers, getting his hand on the ball. And, he's just a really good linebacker in this league. So to be able to get him back out there would certainly be meaningful for us.
In a situation like this, how much does Von Bell's flexibility and his versatility do for the defense?
I think it's good, that our safeties can play a couple different jobs. This is a team that stresses you a lot of different ways. You can say that they are really explosive in the pass game, but they've also got really good running backs, and the quarterback can move with his feet as well, and they're really creative with what they do. So it's good to have a lot of players on defense that are very versatile.
Hey, Coach, why has their defense really the last 2 months has really kind of almost carried them in some stretches? What has changed for them defensively, or what is their most what do you think makes them kind of dangerous? What's
hard to know what's changed. We've certainly spent a lot of our time watching the last 7 games, more so than the first 8 games. You still use some of that information, but for the most part, you're looking to see what a team has done lately and what they're about lately as teams evolve over the course of the season. Certainly don't see a weakness on their defense in terms of personnel. They're really good at all 3 levels. They do a great job up front applying pressure. They're really fast on the second level with the linebackers. They seem to be really instinctive. The back end is really sticky in coverage. They can play man coverage. They can play a lot of different zone coverage. They can blitz you from a lot of different ways. They always seem to be in sync. They don't turn guys free. And when they do play man coverage, they're all over you. So it's a great challenge for our receivers. So just a really good defense. And then, they're top in the league, top 3 in the league and creating turnovers. So you see some of these teams that maybe are having some success early in the games, they make an explosive play, and then those guys knock the ball out or they pick the ball off or whatever it is to regain that momentum. And they seem to really feed off of that.
How much impact, with the safety, I guess the safety kind of sets the tone for that, doesn't it?
It's hard to see who the tone setter is. They play as one collective unit and they play really well, and so I think you could point to a lot of different guys that seem to bring the energy on that defense. Again, as a collective whole, they've just done a really good job with the communication, and each one of them makes the plays on the tape. And so it's hard to point to who the culprit is, who the Energizer Bunny is over there. The whole unit plays really well together, and Steve Spagnuolo has done a great job with that group.
Zac, what makes Andy Reid so remarkably difficult to prepare for his teams?
he's been around some of the all-time great offenses in football, and he's coached under and coached with a lot of people who have had a great effect on this league over a long course of time. And, he coached with my father-in-law a long time ago. And so I know there's always been respect there on Mike Sherman's end. And so I've always followed him everywhere he's been. He's had success everywhere he's been. He's done a great job evolving his scheme over time. This isn't the same scheme he was probably part of in Green Bay and over the time in Philly, and he just continues to evolve to the players and the way that the game has shifted. Very creative, makes you honor every blade of grass as you're a defense trying to cover their offense. And on top of that, they've just done a great job with their personnel. It's hard to find an average player on that offense. Everybody's explosive. Everybody seems to be the top of their position. And they've been making plays over a number of years now to really have that belief that that they're going to score a lot of points when they walk on the field.
Coach, you probably have the knowledge of John Madden as a coach because you're a coach, and also you're young enough to appreciate the video game impact. But when you think about John Madden, for you, what comes to mind?
Well, just his overall impact on the game as a coach, as a commentator, my childhood, as some on here as well. I just remember waking up in second grade and turning on Madden, on Christmas Day and getting the next Madden the next year. And so my generation, that's maybe a little bit more of what it is. The generation just before me and before that knows him a little bit better as the coach and the impact he had on early on in the game. But it's tough. I know there's some coaches in our building that know him and spent some time with him and, had high praise for him as a man that got a chance to meet him. I never did. But of course that's a tough loss for the NFL community.
Thank you.
Couple of follow-ups there. What was your favorite version of Madden and which playbook did you generally use growing up when you were playing?
That's a good question. It was whatever 90, midnight Sega. I'd say Sega was probably the one that I played a little bit more on. And playbook, I think back then it was more just, you picked the team. And I don't remember going too in depth with changing it around much, but it was more about changing the weather, and the elements for me. That was always kind of the first thing I like to do. But I mean, my son Brooks, he plays Madden every day. It's when I come home and I see him on Friday or Saturday. He's usually in the basement. Hey, what have you been doing, buddy? I've been playing Madden, and so, you look at me back in '92 and you look at Brooks here in 2021. It's my childhood on repeat, just with much better graphics.
What was your favorite weather?
Snow. You always had to make it pretty miserable. Snow. You pick the Lambeau field and you play a snow game. That takes me back to my childhood.
Coach, I know you've got a healthy dose of respect for Kyle Shanahan. Do you put Andy Reid in that type of category? I mean, are they more similar than different in their talents?
Yeah, I certainly have a lot of respect for both those guys. Andy's just been so consistent over a long period of time, and so many coaches that have coached under him have gone on to do really good things. I think he's had a tremendous effect on all those that have been around him, coaches and players. I know players who played for him that, would run through a wall for the guy. And I think he's just got the right tone of how he treats the men in the building and gets the most out of them. And his teams have always been really productive on the field.
Xavier Shofilo cleared to practice. Just what are you hoping to get out of him the rest of the season? Will he have a shot to compete for time or anything like that?
Yeah, we'll see. We'll just get him out there and let him move around and help us in any way that he can help us. And again, it's just another option to have, on the table. So I think it's a good thing.
Zach,
how impressed?
Sorry, who's going? Yeah. How disruptive?
Go ahead, Kelce, and then I'll get you a second after that.
How disruptive is Chris Jones for them and what he does up front? I saw he has almost all the amount of sacks he had last year with 2 games to play in the regular season.
Yeah, I mean, he's disruptive in any different way you could phrase it. That's probably the last impression I had before I walked down here was watching him, knock Dak Prescott out of bounds. So, he's done a really good job. They use him in a couple different ways. He always has an impact on the quarterback and in the run game, and he's a heck of a player. And it's not just him; it's not the only one you got to worry about. They got a lot of different guys up front that can affect the passer as well. And so again, it's a really good group.
Coach, what impresses you the most about one Patrick Mahomes, the quarterback, and then his, I guess one of his targets is the former UC tight end great Travis Kelce?
Sure. Patrick's fun to watch, difficult to emulate. It's, anytime you're preparing for him, it's hard to find that guy that can do that because there's really no one that can emulate that. And so I think on top of that, he plays like a really smart football player. I've never met him. I've never been around him, but you can see on the tape the chemistry he has with the receivers, the understanding he seems to have of the protections and the coverages. He's really strong in the pocket. He's a really crafty runner. He can buy a lot of time back there with his feet and allow for those weapons to get down the field or in cover. And he's certainly got the arm strength to put the ball anywhere on the field and the anticipation to deliver it to where he needs to go. So, he's a special player. That's, I think, the best way to phrase it. Travis Kelce, again, is a rare tight end as well. As you can just tell, the chemistry is on level 10 there for those two guys. And just trying to study his routes, over the years, it's you wouldn't want to take a young tight end and say, hey, watch Travis Kelce, because Travis is just so nuanced with how he breaks off routes. And he and Patrick seem to be on the same page with maybe there's a void there. I'm just going to sit in this void. And then, making the first guy miss and finishing off plays, I think is really maybe an undervalued trait that Travis has. And, his name first came on my radar when I was in Miami, and we had a tight end coach there by the name of Dan Campbell who, would have done anything, probably cut off any limb on his body to try to get Travis Kelce in the building. So, he made an impression on me, and I followed Travis ever since. And sure enough, he's had a pretty good career.
Thank you.
Coach, in putting together your offense and how explosive it is, what kind of influence did the Chiefs have on that and the way they're constructed? And are we seeing, hopefully, is this the first, are we seeing the embryonic stages of what the Chiefs have accomplished?
It's hard to say. In some ways it's the same. In some ways it's very different, just their overall structure. And I think that's the hard thing is when you watch a team that's had the high-end talent that they've had for a long time, and you just try to take their plays and run them. There's that blend of the creativity from the coaching staff, maximizing their personnel and putting them in the positions that are their strengths, and in some ways our guys have other strengths. And so you always got to be careful of just saying, well, they do this package, let's do it, and it's going to work. They've put a lot of time and effort into ironing out the nuances and ironing out what looks they wanted against and what they don't. You don't know what their can or kill package is. You don't know. And so that's oftentimes kind of what happens in the league is you steal a play or you see somebody steal somebody else's play, but they don't know the nuances. They don't know why they're running it or what looks they wanted or what they were going to check to, how many times they check out of the play before they actually ran it. And so that's the thing that you always want to be careful running into when you're watching an explosive offense like the Chiefs and saying, let's just do what they do. You have to be very careful of doing what your guys do best, what you have experience in and the answers for, before you just say, hey, they're a great offense. Let's just do exactly what they do and expect to have the same success.
That being said, Zach, are there things, though, that they do, the way they score points, the way they dictate the terms of the game to the opposition that you can embrace?
I think the one thing that stands out, I'd say two things that stand out for them is they're always in attack mode, always. They're always looking to push the ball down the field, and they do a really good job of getting their players, the ball in space to maximize their potential. So you just look at, Tyreek Hill is one of the fastest players in the league, and he's got over 100 catches. The yardage is similar to Jamar's, who's got much fewer catches, but that's just a product of let's get this guy the ball as many times as possible. It might be 2 yards, but that he's always got the potential to break it down the field. And so I think that they do a really good job of getting their weapons the ball like that and giving them the opportunities. It doesn't always play out that way. Sometimes it's going to be a 1 or 2 yard gain, but other times there's always in the back of that D coordinator's mind the issue that it could go for 60 on any play. And that's a tough thing to defend.
2 minutes.
Hey, Zach, everyone knows what's on the line mathematically with a chance to clinch the division, but mindset-wise or psychological-wise, for a young team on the come, how important is it to get a kind of a signature win against one of the elite teams in the league?
Well, it's a big game, any way you want to phrase it. We know that this is an important game for us. Our guys are really excited for the opportunity and just what it can do for us. It helps us win the division. So I think it's more about that. That's one of the things, as you said, on the season is you want to win the division, go to the playoffs. The Chiefs happen to be the team that's right in front of us that will allow us to do that. Yeah, it's a tremendous football team. They've had a lot of success over the years. We understand that. But we don't play too much into that. This is more about this allows us for the opportunities that we've worked for all year.
Zac, who is in the booth that helps you with your decisions on if you're going to make a challenge or basically your game management on game days?
A lot of people. Brian Callahan, Sam Francis. Sam's the analytics guy, so he's helping you process some of those details. They're watching the replays up there as well. Whether or not to challenge it, half the time we got the same information you all do. It's you're trying to buy some time to see if there's a replay, and if there's not, you're trying to make an educated guess on what you think the scenario was. And so I think people would probably maybe surprised or not that we're watching the same thing you all are, trying to assess whether or not it's a challengeable play, and you're up against the clock there sometimes. So. Again, we just try to talk through that as best we can with the people who are on the headset.
Coach, would you know it's a busy week for you? Will you have a few minutes to at least watch a series or two of the UC game Friday or?
Is it Friday night? Is that what it is?
Friday afternoon.
Yeah, Friday afternoon. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I'll do everything I can to have the game on while we're kind of finalizing the game plan. I'm really excited for that group. They've earned it. They've earned it over the last 2 years. Not the last 2 years. They've earned it over the last 4 years. What they went through their first year and then built it the second year and then really hit the ground running in years in 3 and 4. And it's really cool to see and absolutely pulling for those guys. And kind of had lost track of time, to be honest with you. I couldn't have told you when the game was, but I'm glad to know it's Friday night. I'll absolutely do everything we can to watch it. And, I know Kevin Huber will be watching it also. He's been talking about it for the last couple of weeks, so I guess it's finally here. But it just really cool opportunity and pulling for them, and can't wait to see how it plays out.
Thank you.
Last one, Ben, it looked like you had something.
Yeah, 2 quick questions. One, has Dan Campbell always talked about biting limbs off his body in this case? And number 2,
I think that was me throwing that on there. I don't know that he always talked about that.
Okay, just wanted to make sure. Otherwise, we might have some questions for him in Detroit. And secondly, I guess Suafilo, are you guys looking at him primarily as a right guard or just wherever?
He hasn't got an opportunity to practice in a long time. So guard is his natural position. So we'll put him in that guard and see how he goes.
All right, Coach. Thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Zac.
Thanks, Coach.